Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be doing another update of Washington Dulles International Airport. Today's update is going to be a late afternoon, early evening update, so we have a lot of the European arrivals and of course a lot of the domestic traffic in at the moment. So I think we're going to start off where we usually do, down here in Concourse B. So starting off here with Alaska, here we have the Alaska 737 MAX 8. This aircraft is going to be heading to San Diego in California. And then following that we have another Alaska aircraft. This is the Alaska Boeing 737-900ER. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Los Angeles in California. Alaska are using a mix of different aircraft. They seem to switch things up quite a bit. We get the Dash 800s, the Dash 900s, the MAX 8s and the MAX 9s into not only Dulles but also Baltimore and Reagan. So of course it's really good to have the MAX 8 in updates now, along with the Dash 900 and the Dash 800. But soon I would like to get, of course, the Alaska 737 MAX 9 in the the regular color scheme, and also when they eventually get it, the 737 MAX 10. I believe that will probably be an aircraft that will fly over to DC from probably Seattle at first, but maybe other destinations in the future. But moving on to American, here we have the American Eagle CIJ-700. This one is going to be heading out to Charlotte in North Carolina. Again, I say it in every single update. Of course, this route is usually on the Dash 900. I don't have a Dash 900 at the moment, so I'm using the Dash 700. I cannot wait for the update where we finally have an American CIJ-900 available to add to this section. But for now, this CIJ-700 is going to be heading up to Charlotte in North Carolina. And then, of course, the really good thing about this time period of update is we get Aer Lingus down here. This is the Aer Lingus Airbus A321LR. So Aer Lingus have pre-clearance in Dublin, so all the passengers that arrive into Dulles with Aer Lingus have already passed through US Customs. So that's why Aer Lingus parked down here with the domestic aircraft, because the passengers on board the Aer Lingus aircraft can just deplane the aircraft like regular domestic traffic. But this Aer Lingus A321LR has of course arrived in from Dublin and is going to be heading back out there. Moving around to the other side of the terminal here with Delta, we have this Delta Connection CIJ-900. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Detroit in Michigan. We then have this Delta Airbus A320. This one is going to be heading out to Minneapolis in Minnesota. And then last but not least here for Delta, we have this Delta Airbus A319. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson in Georgia. After that, here we have this Allegiant Boeing 737 MAX 8-200. Again, Allegiant typically operate the A320s into Dulles, but of course I don't have an A320, so I'm using this 737 MAX instead. But this aircraft is going to be heading out to Punta Gorda in Florida. And then next up here, just pushing back, here we have this Breeze Airbus A220-300. This aircraft has just pushed back and is going to be heading out to Provo in Utah. Next up here, moving on to the international section now, here we have the British Airways Boeing 787-9. This aircraft is of course going to be heading out to London Heathrow in the UK. After that we have this Air France Boeing 777-300ER. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Paris Charles de Gaulle. After that, here we have the Iberia Airbus A350-900. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Madrid in Spain. So Iberia have been using the Airbus A330-300 into Washington Dulles since they launched, and as well as the Dash 200. But they will be transferring over to the A321 XLR. I am still waiting on one of those to be released, but of course when it does get released and when it arrives, I will have that in a Washington Dulles update. It's really cool to see another A321 coming into Dulles. Of course it's another wide body we're losing, but that just seems to be the way airlines are going, kind of switching from wide bodies to narrow bodies. Especially with destinations like Washington Dulles. Of course there are some like New York JFK that is just, New York JFK has so much demand that, airlines like Iberia will probably always serve wide bodies to JFK, but Dulles, You know, the demand is there, but it's not as extreme as JFK. So Dallas is probably more the airport we'll get the A321s serving, as opposed to, you know, the likes of JFK. But moving around to this side of the terminal, we have this Aeromexico 737-800. Of course, Aeromexico have now returned. They returned to Dallas quite a few months ago. Originally, they stopped service to Dallas in, I believe, 2018, but they are now back. At the moment, they're using the MAX 9s, I believe, on the Dallas route, or the MAX 8, I can't really remember, but I don't have one of them. So for now, I'm using this Aeromexico 737-800. And this one is of course going to be heading out to Mexico City in Mexico. After that, here we have the Copa Boeing 737-800. I've had the MAX 9 in a lot of my updates recently, so I decided to switch things up, as Copa aren't just flying the MAX 9 into Dallas, they are sort of mixing them up. We do still occasionally get the Dash 800 into Dallas, so this 737-800 is going to be heading out to Panama City in Panama. After that, another airline that I suspect will probably turn to the A321 in the future. We have this KLM Boeing 787-9. This aircraft is of course going to be heading out to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, but as I say, KLM have recently, well not recently, quite a few months ago now, received their first A321 LR. I can't remember off the top of my head whether they have orders for the XLR. I would imagine they do, and I would assume that those aircraft will probably be the future of KLM service into Dallas, just like Iberia. But after that, here we have this Korean Air Boeing 777-300. This is the non-ER variant of the Boeing 777-300. You can tell by the wings they're slightly shorter and a little bit stubbier at the ends. But of course, these Korean Air 333s are flying sort of short haul flights around Asia, up to Japan and China and different places like that. So it's pretty unrealistic to see a non-ER variant of the 333 here at Washington Dallas, but Korean Air actually fly the 777-300 ER, so it's only a very tiny difference in the type of aircraft that they serve here. But you know, again, I don't have a 777-300ER, so I'm using this one instead. And this aircraft is going to be heading out to Seoul in South Korea. And then next up here we have this Saudi Arabian Boeing 777-300ER. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. It will be interesting to see the future of Saudi Arabian when compared to Riyadh Air. Of course, Riyadh Air are a new Saudi Arabian airline that have started up. They have it, well, they've said in the past that they are looking to start flights into Washington Dallas in the future. Of course, they have their 787 that's been painted into their livery, but they're only still a very fresh airline, so it will be interesting to see if Riyadh Air starts service from Riyadh to Washington Dallas, what that will do to this route with Saudi Arabian. But that's something we'll have to just see how it goes. Next up, still operating the A340, here we have the Lufthansa Airbus A340-600. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Frankfurt in Germany. And last but not least, here for the terminal, here we have this Austrian Boeing 767-300. This aircraft is of course going to be heading out to Vienna in Austria. And then last but not least, here over at the cargo stand, we have this UPS Boeing 767-300. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Louisville in Kentucky. And with that, that does conclude today's update of Washington Dallas International Airport. There's not really a ton to go over, so with that, I want to thank you very much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.